Hello, everybody. Mr. Spottle. Today is the start of the final week here of us together. The schedule for today is basically going to be I'm going to post a practice quiz today. It'll be due on Tuesday like it normally would on a quiz week. On Wednesday, I will post a video going over that practice quiz and I'll post the answer key. And then on Thursday, you guys will take your quiz. Once that quiz is submitted on Thursday, you are done with your first class of high school, and you're on to geometry to do bigger and better things. Okay, so stick with me this week. Let's get all this stuff taken care of. Okay, your grade can significantly change if there's a 0 out of something put in the grade book. So make sure you're staying up to date on everything here. Okay, this was the homework from last week, the end of last week. Again, these are just the answers. If you have any questions on them, please reach out. Okay. There's the first 4. Pause it if you need to see it a little bit longer. And here are the bottom 4. Okay. So if you have any questions on any of those, please do not hesitate to reach out. All right. All right, let's go over a couple review problems here that I think, may not, there might be a reason I'm doing them. There might not. I don't know. Your choice to decide that. Okay. So find any excluded values of each rational expression. Okay. If you remember when we talked about this problem here, okay, the thing we discussed was this is a division problem. So we cannot put something in the denominator that will give us a 0, because if we get a 0, then we can't divide, and it's not, it's a no solutions type answer. Okay, so in this case here, what we do is we factor this first. Okay, so we've got 4 over, and I'm looking at what multiplies to give me -10. That'll add to give me -3. Hopefully, you're thinking of x minus 5 and x plus 2. Again, -5 times 2 is -10. -5 plus 2 is -2. So we're all good there. Now, once we have that factored right there, we're trying to think of, well, what would make this 0? Well, in this case, to make x minus 5 negative, it would have to be 5. So x cannot be 5. And then the other one is what would make this statement here 0? Well, if I plugged in a -2, -2 plus 2 would give me 0. And both of those would make this answer no solutions, which means these are considered excluded values. Okay? Moving on now. Simplify each rational expression. If possible, identify any excluded values. Okay, so here we want to do some simplifying first. Okay, if you remember, I stressed simplifying first. Okay, here we can factor out a GCF of 4D, and then they have 2 squareds in common, so 4D squared. And then what I'll have left is just D plus 1. And then on the bottom, I'll just have my D plus 1. When I have this situation here, that cancels and that cancels, and I'm left with an answer of just 4D squared. Now, please be very careful. If possible, identify any excluded values. Well, if I look at this question here, what would make D plus 1 0, and again, ruin our problem and make it no solutions? Well, didn't want to do that. Well, actually, x cannot equal -1. So we have to make sure that we put in that second part of the answer saying that it can't be -1. So we have an answer after things cancel, and then we have an x cannot be -1. All right. Simplify each rational expression if possible. Okay, so I have q minus 6 over q squared minus 9q plus 18. First thing I want to focus on is factoring that bottom. So what will multiply to get me 19, then we'll add to get me negative 9. Okay, I hope you're thinking the same that I'm thinking, which is x minus 3 and x minus 6. If I multiply negative 3 times negative 6, I get positive 18. If I add negative 3 plus negative 6, I get negative 9. From here, then, I know that my q minus 6 and my q minus 6 are going to cancel, and I'm left with just x minus 3. We're not worried about any excluded values anymore, but my answer is x minus 3. Okay. Same thing down here. Now, in this situation here, if you run into, excuse me, if you run into a situation where they're aligned differently, you want to go ahead and realign them. Okay. So in this case, it's going to be negative 3b plus 3. Again, I just flipped those two terms there over. Now, here I have a GCF that I can factor out. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and factor it out now. Okay, and my GCF is 3. And I'm left with b squared plus 6b minus 7. Now, I can also factor something out of this GC out of the top there, so I'm going to go negative 3. And then I have b minus 1. And then here, I can factor this. Okay, so I'm still going to have that 3 out front. However, what multiplies to give me negative 6, or I'm sorry, negative 7 that adds to give me positive 6? Well, it's going to be x plus 7 and x minus 1. And then you can see here now, some things are going to happen here. B minus 1 and B minus 1 are going to cancel. Okay, these 3's are also going to cancel, but the negative is still going to be there. Okay, so on the top, all I have left right now is this negative, so that's going to be a negative 1. And all I have left on the bottom is x plus 7. Okay? Good. All right, got about 3 more here to finish up. We've got a couple multiplication ones here, okay? And if you remember on the multiplication ones, I stressed canceling things out first, okay? So in this case here, we can cancel some stuff. The first thing I'd like to cancel is, let's see here, let me get my blue marker for this. Okay, the first thing I'd like to cancel here is, let's work through the left side first. This 3/6 is going to simplify to 1/2. Okay, I'm not even going to put the 1 anymore, so I'm just going to put the 2 at the bottom. Okay, and then I can't cancel out the r squared at all. And the t and the t to the third here is going to be t to the negative second on the top. We know that it can quickly be put to the bottom, so I'm going to put the t to the negative second. I'm sorry, this will become positive because I'm moving it to the bottom, so t to the second. And then that s is still going to stay there. So that's simplified there times. My 2/8 is going to simplify to 1/4, so I'm just going to put the 4. My r's, same thing here. R to the second divided by r to the fourth is going to be r to the negative second. It should go up top, but since it's a negative 2, I'm just going to move it to r squared down here. S to the third over s squared. If I cancel those out, I'm just going to have s. And my t to the squared stays the same. Okay? Now, from here, I can multiply top times top and bottom times bottom. So in this case here, r squared times st squared is just going to be r squared times s times t squared over. And then here I have 2 times 4, which is 8. And then t squared s and r squared. Okay. Now, if we take a look at this, very interesting. My T and my T cancel. My S and my S cancel. And my R squared and my R squared canceled. And I'm left with an 8 on the bottom. And if nothing's left on top, I leave a 1. So my answer here is 1/8. Okay. Here, there's a lot of factoring that I need to do first. Okay, so let's go ahead and work through this. Starting out here, there's a GCF of 6n. So I'm going to factor out my GCF of 6n, and I'm left with just n plus 3. Over. I have n squared plus 9n plus 8. What multiplies to give me 8 that'll add to give me 9? This will be x plus 8 and x plus 1 times n squared minus 1. That's going to be a perfect or a difference of squares. We got the subtraction and 2 square roots. So in this case here, I'm going to do n plus 1 and n minus 1. And then here I can factor out a 2, and I'm left with n plus 3. Okay, now we can start the canceling. My n plus 3 and my n plus 3 are going to cancel. My n plus 1 and my n plus 1 are going to cancel. That doesn't leave me with anything left. Okay, so in this case here, whatever is left, I'm going to cross multiply. So 6n and n minus 1 become 6n, n minus 1, and x plus 8 and 2 become over, extend this page a little bit, become 2, and x plus 8. And then to finish up, I'm going to simplify this 6 and this 2, and it's going to just become 3n, n minus 1, over x plus 8. All right. There's my answer there. And last one here is a division problem. So we do the keep, change, flip method. I'm going to go ahead and do that first. Actually, I'm going to factor this while I'm working through it. So the left side stays the same, keep. Okay, so in this case, it's going to be a difference of squares. So x plus 3, x minus 3, over. What multiplies to give me 9 that adds to give me 6 is going to be x plus 3 and x plus 3. Now it's changed, so I change the division to multiplication, and I flip. So 16x over. Now, this is going to the bottom, but there's a GCF of 4x that I can factor out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My 4x factors out, and I'm left with just x minus 3. Okay? Right off the bat now, I can see that I have an x plus 3 that's going to cancel with this x plus 3. I have an x minus 3 that's going to cancel with this x minus 3. Okay? What am I left with now? On the top, I'm left with just 16x. On the bottom, I'm left with a 4x, and I'm left with an x plus 3. Okay? Now, from here, this 16x and this 4x, well, the x's are going to cancel, and the 4 is going to cancel out, and this 16 is going to become a 4 now. So all I'm going to have left is a 4 on the top and an x plus 3 on the bottom. Okay? And my answer would be 4 over x plus 3. All right? Like always, if you have any questions or you have any concerns or you're just interested in finding out where we're at or you need me to totally reteach this stuff to you, I'm available on Canvas. I'm available by Remind. I'm set something up. Let's get you help. Let's finish this last week strong, and you guys can go into the summer chilling. Okay? Thank you. Again, I'm available if there's any questions, concerns, or comments. Thank you. Have a great week.